What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we did indeed return from the, tiny little vacation that I went on there, my little social media break. So, yes, I'm back and active in today's video. I'll be down in the comment section, obviously, and again, we'll have a live stream over on Twitch today, Saturday, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, grinding more of this new update out for XDefiant. So if you guys are interested, you want to hop into the open lobby, so just say hello, by all means. You guys can find a link to that stream down in the description of this video. But again, a few days ago, a brand new update came out for XDefiant. I put a little content out for it, really, discussing the patch notes, but obviously I've been away, so I haven't really dabbled too much into it. But after returning and really putting in a decent amount of time into this update, I gotta be honest with you guys, these developers are absolutely phenomenal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing that has been kind of rough when it comes to the gaming scene, it's when it comes to developers nerfing and buffing their weapons, their whole weapon catalog. It seems that no development team can really nail that. It always just becomes a game of, nerfing all the overpowered stuff and making the crap stuff, buffed to be god weapons. And then later on, nerfing those guns that are good and then making the other guns that are bad, good and relevant. It's kind of like, a switcheroo. Every so often, they switch up the weapons, they switch up the flow. But time and time again, we have been begging developers to stop this nonsense and just simply make everything overpowered, right? Why not? I mean, on paper, it sounds amazing, and we've seen other games really take this approach, like Modern Warfare 2, for example, the OG game. Obviously not Modern Warfare 2 2022. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the OG Modern Warfare 2. Over half the freaking weapons in that game were absolute demons. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, obviously you had your overpowered UMP class because, it was cheese, and it was pretty much a cheat code because it was bugged, where if you had a suppressor, you had the same damage as no suppressor, so, it was a bunch of cheese in the game, obviously, and the dual akimbo models that got nerfed a little bit later on, so on and so forth. Yeah, there were some weapons that were absurdly overpowered, but I would say across the board, the mass majority of the gun catalog were just a ton of fun to play with. They all felt like they shred. They all felt like you can compete. And whenever I saw someone with a UMP or an ACR or something like that, I didn't think, man, I gotta pull out a UMP to be able to deal with this guy. No, not a singular time. I mean, the only time I really thought of that in Modern Warfare 2 OG is when someone was rocking, a one-man army noob tube class, because that was, beyond the point of toxicity. So yes, indeed, sometimes to combat that, you gotta pull out your own noob tube class. But when it comes to weapons, the guns themselves, I never felt the urge to have to branch away, from the variety of the game to strictly deal with meta and meta only. And that vibe isn't impossible. And I've been waiting for teams to pick this method up, and nobody does. And here we are with XDefiant, and they finally did it. Guys, again, I already mentioned the patch notes, so I'm not going to discuss it, but you guys already know the MDR, the M4, and the MP5 all got a nice, juicy buff. And let me tell you guys something. They all feel freaking fantastic, guys. The MDR is hands down my favorite gun in this game right now, because the MDR has been growing on me a bit previously before the update dropped. I used to absolutely despise the gun, but the more I played with it, the more I messed around with my attachments, and the more I really fine-tuned it to be what I wanted it to be, it became a gun that I just really enjoyed using. But after the update, oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't tried the MDR out just yet, if you're nervous to give it a go because you're scarred from how it was in the past, please, for the love of God, give it a go. It is so phenomenal right now. It is amazing. And same goes for the M4 and the MP5. Both guns feel like they can actually compete. Now, of course, yes, you're going to see the same meta slaves using MP7s and ACR stills in your public matches. That's simply never going to change. That mentality is just ingrained into certain individuals where they just want to use, the quote-unquote most insane weapons in the game, even when the competitors are equally as good sometimes. Like, for example, I think the AK is just as good as the ACR, but you'll still see the majority of the sweat lords not even bothering with the AK, right? They'll just simply, main the ACR. Point being proven that it doesn't matter. To a lot of these players, that annoying meta that everybody talks about, the MP7 ACR meta, it's a mindset. It truthfully is a mindset, even if other guns can compete. So again, I see a lot of people calling for a nerf to the MP7, a nerf to the ACR. I see a lot of people saying that this update wasn't good enough because they didn't, destroy them. But I don't think that needed to be done. I think they did a phenomenal job here with keeping the current meta, already is. You don't have to destroy the guns that already feel good. You see, that's the problem with these other titles. They have guns that feel phenomenal, but instead of working other guns around them, they say, okay, well, nobody likes them because they're too good, so let's just nerf them and just try to, spend months to make the other guns feel just as good as well. No, forget that noise. why not just keep the guns that already feel good, right? The ACR and MP7, in my opinion, didn't need to be touched up upon at all. Maybe a slight bit, maybe a slight bit, but honestly, I'm completely happy and content with how they are right now. Again, I know a lot of people rock the MP7, but I would gladly rock a P90 against the MP7 any day of the week. I would gladly rock a Vector against the MP7 any day of the week. As long as you know how to use the weapons and you know the ranges and you know how to engage, you should be able to compete. But again, there's no need to nerf them, and the developers did not. Finally, for the first time, I feel like in years, a development team actually did not nerf the meta and is choosing to buff the other guns up around it. And let me tell you guys something, it is great. Again, like I said a little bit earlier, I still see the MP7 and the ACR meta. I see a lot of people still rocking them because it's just the mentality. Whatever the pros use, whatever the competitive scene uses, whatever, the quote-unquote best players use all the time, that's what people are always going to gravitate towards. But that doesn't mean there's not other good alternatives in the game. And let me tell you something, the developers did such a freaking good job. Again, like I would argue that the MDR might be one of the best assault rifles in this game right now after this buff, especially with the pacing of this game. Yeah, there's a decent amount of long-range engagements, but you could really cut the gap on a lot of individuals in this game. And the MDR just got turned into an absolute demon machine. And I'll tell you right now, I am competing with the meta slaves, okay? People who are rocking the MP7s, people who are using ACRs, my M4, my MDR, and my MP5 are all competing just fine. They're doing the job, they're getting everything done, and guess what? They feel absolutely outstanding. And when I say really, I really freaking hope the developers keep this mindset and this mentality moving forward, because this is how you should go about handling your weapons, handling your buffs and your nerfs. Again, if something is outrageously broken, then I can understand going ahead and fixing it. But if it's just a good gun, and that's it, it's just simply good, it feels good in the hands, I don't see any need to destroy it. All you got to do is just make sure the other weapons feel good in the hands as well, and then the variety, you'll start seeing it sprinkle out more and more and more to the community. And I will say, after getting a decent amount of playtime, with this update, I haven't seen that many intel suits either. I feel like the nerf to the intel suit might have kind of pushed some players away, or at least encouraged them to try a bit more variety with, the class selections out here. I don't know. I'm going to test that a bit further. I'm going to see for myself, and I'm going to have a video out at, a different date discussing if the intel suit nerf was, good enough, and if we need to see more changes to perfect that. But like I said, I don't see as many intel suits. The spider bots, again, I could just shoot them off my face. I'm pretty happy with that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the main changes just simply have to be, reducing the phantom health from 120 to at least 110 if they don't want to take it all the way to 100, because then the fire rounds can be a pretty decent counter to the 110 health. Because with 120, even with the fire rounds, it's irrelevant. Literally, the phantom will still win more than half of the gunfights. It's overpowered to have 120 HP, and it's not coming from someone who's getting whooped up with the Phantom class. It's coming from someone who plays and enjoys the Phantom class, but I play with it because I know that is my biggest advantage with it. Forget everything else. It's all nonsense. The best advantage of the Phantom is extra health in gunfights. I can pretty much almost, partially guarantee every 1v1 against a non-Phantom player just because of that specific reason alone. That is like the main thing that needs to be tweaked, and a few more tweaks to make the spotter bot, when they finally get that animation out to punch it, to make it more easy, fluent and nice. If they could do that and they can mess with the phantoms, I feel like, even when it comes to the classes in the game, I enjoy the variety. I do. I have fun playing around with them and understanding the counterplay and knowing when I need to hold off, who I should be more aggressive against, and just having that mix into the, the match-to-match gameplay. I really enjoy how these developers are so far balancing it out. Again, yes, there can be some more work done, obviously. I mean, we're only like a month and a half, close to 2 months into the game, right? There's plenty of work to be done. But with how they're beginning the process of getting the balancing out, I am really excited to see how they're going to, maneuver the rest of the fixes within this game. And hopefully, they could really continue, like I said earlier, the mindset of buffing weapons around the overpowered ones, because I love that for this game. I really do. I don't want to see the MP7 and ACR become irrelevant. I don't want them to become garbage, you know? I like the MP7. It's one of the most iconic guns I could possibly think of. I'd love it in every game, whether it's good or bad, but I would much rather it be useful, right? So I don't want it to be destroyed. I want to see the other guns, you know, become legendary as well. So when you see variety and you see those, you know, other guns being used, you're not afraid of them and you don't feel like you have to be forced into meta. You know you can still compete with something else, something different. You know, even if it's not going to be the most efficient, even if it doesn't have, like, you know, the most insane recoil pattern control or something like that. You know, maybe you have to have a better recoil control. I don't know. At the end of the day, as long as the damage is looking pretty clean across the board and it has a designated role, like its role makes sense, I'm completely happy with it. And that seems to be the direction that these developers are pushing here. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. We post daily here at 8 in the morning Eastern time. And as always, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I will be live today over on Twitch between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. You guys can find a link to that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.